So I'm working on the intake some more. Made a design change decision. I'm going to run air cleaners. I'll get the radiator at the end of next week, but basically there's this gap, 2 3/4 inch gap that runs along the top of the radiator, and the reason originally why I left this gap is because the hook for the hood comes down here and the mechanism and everything hangs below, so you can't, I wanted to get the radiator underneath this cross member so I'd have more room for the throttle bodies and the engine plumbing, which was a smart move. So what I'm doing is I've got 2 K&N air filters, 2 3/4 by 12 inch filters that mount on each side here, and then I'm just going to fill the center with some oiled foam, and I'll build an opening, basically a piece of polycarbonate or Lexan. It's going to come out and then angle down out until it hits the grill, so it's going to grab air from maybe 4 inches and then funnel it in to a plenum that mounts here. It's all going to be clear polycarbonate or Lexan, so it'll be a box that basically covers this area here, and then it'll transition through a flexible rubber interface to another Lexan box that just runs in here and just takes the air from the filters and channels it into the larger air box area here. So that's what I'm doing. And then underneath this I run a plenum for the vacuum. I'll show you that. I'm kind of in the middle of machining it. A bit frustrated because I don't have the 1/16 NPT tapered, the taps that I need for the vacuums lines for each of the individual throttle bodies. So there's 4 ITB ports, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they need to be tapped for these guys here. 1/16 national pipe thread tapered fitting on this end, and then a 4 fitting here, and there's another 4 fitting on the ITB, and there'll be a little pipe that connects the two of them there. I've got a vacuum gauge, and then there's 2 ports for one of them is for the manifold vacuum sensor for the computer, and the other port is for the fuel pressure regulator. And I'm just modifying some things so that I can fit everything on one end here. So basically on this end here, where I've got the fuel pressure regulator mounted now, on the other side, using the same bolts and a little bit of a standoff, I'm going to mount the manifold vacuum sensor. And then this port here and this port here go to the vacuum plenum. The brake servo has got a number 6 N fitting, and that'll connect to the end of the vacuum log. On the other side is the air idle control, stepper motor control, computer controlled idle speed, so I can adjust the idle speed and have it regulated by the computer. So this is the air idle control assembly here. It's a stepper motor that's driven. There's a connector on it, and it just basically allows air to come in through the filter and into the log. So this screws into there, and this screws into the end of on this side of each log. So these things are tapped. I've been doing lots of fooling around to get these things all tapped, and basically all these fittings and everything mount on this thing, and then there's 2 mounting holes on the ends that mount to the airbox, and then the mounting hole in the center here is for this really fancy nitrous injector. So this nitrous solenoid is called a Quadranoid out of the UK. It's like a $300 solenoid. It's not cheap, but basically it's got a whole bunch of really cool features. It's allows you to pulse width modulate it at a high frequency, so I can vary the amount of nitrous under computer control. So it's got a built-in filter. It's got a purge port that I can hook up a purge solenoid and line to, which I will in a sec. And then it's got 4 outputs that run to the individual throttle bodies. The ITBs and the injectors are already mounted into the line, and you just put the the injector pills or the jetting. So these will be jetted for 20 horsepower each for a maximum of 80 if it's on full blast, and I can throttle it all the way down to 20% or 0 or whatever. And there you go. So that mounts partially. One bolt goes into the airbox, one bolt goes into the vacuum rail, and it's a super tight fit, but everything looks like it's gonna work out. So I'm just gonna screw it all together here. But once again, I have to wait. I've ordered on Amazon for that 1/16 MPT tap because none of the local stores unfortunately have it. So it's an Amazon order, and I'll get it later in the week. So I've got it test mounted again. You can see I've got the fuel pressure regulator and the manifold vacuum sensor mounted kind of together. And here's the plenum running underneath. And then there's the idle control established. And on this end, this goes to the brake servo. And then underneath here, there's a bunch of connectors. So there's the two vacuum ports for these two guys. And then I'm waiting to tap the threads for the vacuum lines that run to the individual throttle bodies. So they're not there yet, but I've got the nitro solenoid installed, and I've got the vacuum gauge there just for handy, just like the fuel. I've got sort of a quick glance rather than looking at the computer to find out what's going on. And with the nitrous, I've got the intake running this way because I'm going to feed it from that side of the engine bay. And underneath here, you probably can't see it, but there's the water, the 16N water fitting, and it fucking barely clears the underside. The fitting is going to come underneath here and then out and then to this corner up here on the radiator. So, and then there's the number 12 line that runs from the other side of the cylinder head, and that'll come through and underneath, and just underneath this number 16, it'll go. The number 12 will go there. And yeah, so we got lots going on in here. The other side of it, of course, is the electric water pump. It's going to come out. The electric water pump's going to sit here, and then the air to water, the water to oil intercooler is going there. So it's all going to fit. It's just fine tuning it, especially running the little nitrous lines and the little vacuum lines, and making sure it doesn't interfere with the throttle linkage or anything. That's going to be the challenge. So anyway, I'm making good progress, and I think that I've slayed the beast for the most part. If I can zoom in here without getting my head down there, so you can sort of see underneath kind of how tight things are, but it'll be good. All right, over now.